Hi there, Manda O'Brien here. Just going to take a little dive into the planet Pluto today. Pluto is just entering Capricorn. If you're following tropical astrology, they will say it's in Aquarius, just entering Pisces, but in the natural sky, that's not the case. In reality, that's not the case. In the sky, and you can look up with your phone, Pluto is just entering into Capricorn. And Pluto is the most outer planet in our solar system that we follow, that we tune into. And it takes him almost 250 or so years to do one orbit around the sun. So he moves very slowly. It takes us 365 days to move around the sun. So that gives you some idea of how far out there Pluto is and how large his orbit is. So in evolutionary astrology, Pluto would be considered the planet that rules our collective evolution as a species here on Earth, as beings, and also as individuals in our individual life journey. And because he takes so long to move around the sun, we never experience his transit through every sign because we don't live 250 years. But we can look back at Pluto and see the generational effects that were playing out at the time that he was transiting in different zodiacs, in different constellations through the sky. And because he moves so slowly, the transformation is a slow process. It's not sudden like Uranus, where things will just suddenly shift from one day to the next. Pluto goes the deepest of all the planets into reality. He's the detective of the zodiac. He rules Scorpio, and some say Aries, but Scorpio for sure, and has a very powerful and transformational effect as he's moving on his orbit through the different constellations. Most of us are born in what would be called a Pluto generation. Because he does take so long, he stays in one sign for over a decade. And all the people born, say for example, in the 60s, they would have been born when Pluto was transiting Leo. And if you look at the 60s, and if you know about Leo, Leo is the most creative, colorful. It loves to shine, it loves to be in the spotlight, it loves to play, it loves to celebrate. And just think of the 60s movement. That was the response to what was going on in society at the time with the war that was happening with Vietnam. And all these musicians and individuals got together to show what they considered to be life and the truth, and to love each other and to have peace. And many of them died during that transit because of what they stood for, and because they were a threat to greed. And, as Jimi Hendrix put it so eloquently, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. And that was the vibration of the 60s, because Pluto being in Leo would be expressing through its polarity sign of Aquarius, which is the world coming together, the big picture, living in harmony, the vision of humanity. And that's what was being demonstrated through the Leo energy, was that this is how we see reality. So Pluto has very strong effects on what's going on down here. the as above, so below, is easy to see when you follow Pluto transits and then look and see what's going on in the world. And that's why I want to do a series on Pluto moving into Capricorn, to just bring some awareness and attention to harnessing the power of this transformational wave that we're going to be experiencing for 17 years while he's in Capricorn, and how to work with that energy and how to use it to transform your life and your inner world so that you're more in tune and more aligned with who you really are and what you're here for, and why the universe created you as a unique individual, what you have to contribute just being who you are. So if we go back to 1929, when the stock market crashed in the United States and the Great Depression kicked in, that was as Pluto was ending his transit through Gemini. Gemini rules trade and communications, and so a stock market crash as Pluto is completing his transit of Gemini and about to enter into Cancer. And then while Pluto was in Cancer, there were many different things going on in the world, and at that time it became clear that a new society needed to be created, that this stock market crash literally wiped out the whole country, at least the ordinary people. And I'm sure many people got rich also off the stock market. And that's the injustice, the imbalance of the system. It became very clear that it didn't work. And that's where Pluto in Cancer pulled in its polarity point, Capricorn, and built a new structure, began to build a more stable structure that wasn't completely and totally dependent on the stock market. They also brought in the SEC at that time to monitor trades, because it was suspected that the crash in 1929 was manipulated. So as Pluto is now in Capricorn, which is the polarity point of Cancer, we can look at what was going on when Pluto was in Cancer and see the effects that it had on the world. And basically it used that Capricorn polarity when it was in Cancer in the 30s to create a new structure. And not to say that that new structure it created is working, but as Pluto has now gone through Leo and then Virgo, and I'm not going to go into all, it's fascinating, but I'm not going to go into all the different manifestations through the constellations leading up to Capricorn. But basically, previous to Pluto entering Capricorn, it was in Sagittarius for a long time, 15 or more years. And we know what's happened in the last 5 years since 2020. Just that alone, the truth, the having to look at our belief system, having to look at the truth that is playing out in the world, and also the deception, because Pluto reveals what's hidden. And during its transit in Sagittarius, from about, I believe it was until 2024, so it would have been around 2008 or so when it entered into Sagittarius. While it was in Sagittarius, the polarity point is Gemini, so we see this huge shift in information availability. And, you know, shenanigans that people might have gotten away with in the past were all being tracked through information technologies. And so it wasn't as easy to hide what was going on. And we can see that especially from 2020 on, where the whole world was involved in this global play. And, you know, regardless of what your opinions are on everything that happened with COVID, my understanding is that it was completely used to manipulate, and that there was very little truth in what was going on. And that's Sagittarius. Pluto in Sagittarius will get to the truth, and then it will communicate it in Gemini. And that's what I saw happen. You know, suddenly the world became connected, you know, regardless of what was going on in society and the manipulation of the pharmaceutical companies and the media. It was getting out. The information got out. And I would say, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but in the last 5 years, people have become much more aware than they were before that, of their own beliefs and of the programming from society and the collective social duty that we've been programmed with, not to think for ourselves, not to be individuals. And it's put a focus on that. So as we enter into Capricorn, all of those new truths, new information, and expansion that we've experienced while Pluto is transiting Sagittarius are now coming into play, where we can make them real. We can bring them into our physical world. Capricorn is an earth sign. It has to do with being patient and building a foundation that's solid. And the polarity point to that is Cancer, which is where it was during the Great Depression. So if we look from here now at where we are, we can see that capitalism and materialism is completely out of balance with love and compassion for human beings and for creatures and for the earth. Cancer. Cancer rules the mother. It rules how we protect and love ourselves and who we love and what we love. And we can see now in society that there is an imbalance there. The polarity is too much on the Capricorn side. It's too much about money and power and monarchies and governments and corporations, and not enough about individuals and caring for people and caring for the planet. That all this wealth is serving nothing. It's just serving the egos of the people involved, all the politicians, all the corrupt priests and religious organizations, manipulating people and keeping them dependent. So this is all coming into question now with Pluto entering into Capricorn. And Pluto is going to bring in, it's going to support the people that are going to bring in more of this Cancer energy. I'd say it's going to be a very powerful transit for women and mothers, as well as for just supporting people who do care and who want to see people taken care of and loved and valued, and animals and nature and the earth being loved and valued. It's also going to put more of a value on sensitivity and empathy, and basically the more sensitive side of human beings, which men and women both have. So it's going to need that to create balance with the current structure that we have. And it's a very beautiful axis, the Capricorn Cancer axis. Capricorn is a very community-oriented, worldly-oriented sign. It rules the 10th house of your career and your reputation. It's very much connected with society. And it also has to do with your inner stability. It's ruled by Saturn. And this is one of the interesting aspects that Pluto will be making is that Saturn is currently in Pisces and will be having a conjunction with Neptune in February of 2026, which I'll do another report on. But Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, being in Pisces, is also bringing a softer, more spiritual focus to this Pluto transit, as long as Saturn's in Pisces. And Neptune, also being in its home sign of Pisces, makes it a very powerful influence in bringing in new artistic expressions into this new structure, where the arts are valued more than they have been, and artists and musicians and those who work in the more psychic realms and sensitive, invisible realms being more valued as parts of society and being brought into service to support the people who are not connected with their souls. Because to go through this transit, to see things changing in a certain way, you need to have the support of a spiritual connection that's real and genuine for you, where you can trust in life. Because change is change. It's life. It's always happening. And sometimes it's more challenging than others to accept it and to adapt and to, look at, what am I learning? What am I understanding from this? And sometimes it's easier, but I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of support here from Saturn and Neptune to make this transit with Pluto and Capricorn have a very compassionate foundation to it, which is what's needed in the world today, is more compassion. So in your own life, Pluto in Capricorn is going to do this. It's going to be the same process of looking within yourself and seeing the truths that you have seen and have been revealed to you over the past 15 years, but especially in the last 5 years. How you want to redo your foundation to include who you are now and what you're aware of now, and the shifts and changes that are already happening on their own, but how you can support that and have it be an enjoyable process that brings a deep sense of connection and, just a more, I guess, a more emotional feeling sense of your life. Because Pluto ruling Scorpio, it has a lot of passion in it. And when that passion is applied to improving your inner foundations and loving yourself more and having more compassion for yourself, the Cancer polarity, taking care of yourself better and those you love, but not becoming a martyr, not sacrificing yourself. Because if you don't put yourself first and love yourself first, you can't really be of much service to others. In the same way that the more you love yourself, the more love you have to share, basically. And Pluto's going to strengthen this, and it's going to give us a chance to really be our own authority, to be solid, to grow up in a way, and to really start embracing who we are as the mystery of, we don't know what we're capable of. As each moment unfolds and as everything changes, we find out what we're capable of. But we're vast, and we have access to infinite possibilities. Life is not limited like the mind. Life is unlimited. Everything that exists is impossible for the mind, but it's still here, and we're here. So I feel this Pluto transit can be very helpful if you're wanting to create more stability in yourself and more stability in your life, in your practical reality. And really all you need to do is have the patience to take it one step at a time, to be consistent, to do a little bit here and there when you feel to, when you genuinely have the energy. And over time, this new foundation will start to take effect. It'll start to manifest. And amazing things can happen through Pluto transit in Capricorn. We've never seen it before. So we're going to look back on this period of time in the future, and we'll be able to see more clearly what's really going on. But right now, we can be aware of the fact that Pluto's making his energy available for us to make transformations in our life that bring us more peace, more love, and a deeper connection with who we really are. So that's it for part 1. I'll be coming back with part 2, where I'll be going a little bit more into, depending on which house the beginning of Capricorn is for you, where Pluto will be in your chart. And I'll be going through the 12 houses and getting a little bit more detailed about how things may be worked with and what kind of transformations you might see in your personal life, in your chart. So you can always go below in the description to my website. There's a free chart calculator there, and you can see wherever the beginning of Capricorn is, that's where Pluto is in your chart. And then you can look and see what house that is. So thanks for joining me. I look forward to hearing any of your comments or questions down below. And thanks for sharing and subscribing and listening. And yeah, it's really awesome to be able to share astrology with people, and especially since all of it is just our own unique, for me, it's my own unique connection with the universe and how it communicates to me. It's kind of a silent language. It's not about knowing, it's just more about intuition and sensing. And that's what I love about astrology, is that there's a connection between you and the cosmos, and it communicates with you when you tune into it. And to be able to put that into language and share it is very creative. So thanks a lot. Be talking to you soon. Ciao for now.